In the previous video in the series, you have learned how to declare variables and constants. If you haven't seen it, the video series playlist will be in the description. Now, let's look at operators in JavaScript. We have different kind of operators. We use these operators along with our variables and constants to create expressions. And with these expressions, we can implement logic and algorithms. So here are the different kinds of operators we have in JavaScript. We have arithmetic operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, logical operators, and bitwise operators. The first category of operators we're going to look at is arithmetic operators. We use this for performing calculations just like the calculations we have in mathematics. So here we have two variables x and y. Let's take a look at all the arithmetic operators in JavaScript. So I'm going to do a console.log. Here's the first example, x plus y. That is the addition operator. So these arithmetic operators usually take multiplication, division, remainder of division, exponentiation, which is x to the power of y, as well as increment and decrement operators. The second category of operators we're going to look at is assignment operators. You have already seen an example of an assignment operator. So here we are using the simple assignment operator to assign a value, in this case 10 to x. But we have a few more assignment operators. Let me show you. You have learned about the increment operator. With this, we increment the value of x by 1. This expression here is exactly equivalent to this. So we read the value of x, add 1 to it, and then using the assignment operator assign this new value to x. But what if in this example, instead of adding 1 to x, we want to add, let's say 5? Well, this increment operator will not work. So how can we do that? Well, this is one simple way, but we have a shorthand. We can use the addition assignment operator like this. So line 5 and line 4 are exactly the same. Here's another example. Let's imagine we want to multiply the value of x by 3. So we can write it like this, x equals x times 3, or we can use the multiplication assignment operator like this. So all the other arithmetic operators you learned about in the last lecture, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and the remainder operators, all of them have this combination with the assignment operator. Now, let's take a look at comparison operators. As the name implies, we use these operators to compare the value of a variable with something else. So here we have x set to 1. Let's look at the first comparison operator, that is greater than. So we want to check if x is greater than 0. I'm going to save the changes. Look what we get. So the result of an expression that includes a comparison operator is a boolean. It's true or false. Now let's take a look at another example. This second operator is greater than or equal to. So we can change 0 to 1 to see if x is greater than or equal to 1. Obviously it is. So if we save the changes, we get true again. The other operators are very similar. So we have less than, as well as than, or equal to. Now let's save the changes. Look at what we get on the console. So the third item is false because x is not less than 1. It's less than or equal to 1. That's why we get false here. So these four operators we have here, we refer to them as relational operators. We also have equality operators, so we can check to see if x is equal to 1. So we have triple equal signs. Let's save the changes. Obviously x is 1. That's why we get true. Now if we want to check if x is not equal to a given value, we replace the first equal sign with an exclamation mark. So let's save the changes. The result of the last expression is false because x is equal to 1. So these are the comparison operators in JavaScript. Now technically in JavaScript we have another equality operator that is indicated by two equal signs instead of three equal signs. So you might be wondering what the difference is. First of all, what we have on top is what we refer to as strict equality operator. What we have on the bottom is what we call loosely equality operator. Now this strict equality operator ensures that both these values we have on the sides of this operator have the same type and the same value. What do I mean by that? Well, in this example, on both sides of this operator we have two numbers. So the type as well as their value are equal. So if we save the changes, we get true and true. Now let's take a look at another example. This time I'm gonna change one of these numbers to a string. Now if I save the changes, this expression is going to evaluate to false, because here we're comparing a string with a number, so the types here do not match. That's why we will get false. Let's have a look. Save, and here's false, right? So the strict equality operator ensures that both operands are of the same type and have the same value. Now loose equality operator behaves differently. So to focus on this operator, I'm going to comment out these two lines. So here we're comparing 1 with 1 and we get true. Now what if we compare 1 as a string with 1? We will still get true. In contrast, in the previous example we got false. So let's see what's happening here. In this case, this operator looks at the value on the left side. Here we have a string, so it will automatically convert what we have on the right side to a string. So it will look like this, and now because these values are exactly the same, we get true on the console. Now what if on the left side we have a boolean? Well, this operator looks at what we have on the left side because it's a boolean. It will automatically convert the value on the right side to a boolean. So it's like comparing true, and if we save the changes again, we get true. So here's what you need to take away. The strict equality operator ensures that both values have the same type and the same value. The loose equality operator doesn't care about types matching. If the types don't match, it will convert the type of what we have on the right side to match what we have on the left side, and then it will only check if the values are equal. Now most of the time you should be using the strict equality operator because it's more precise and accurate. Let's take a look at the conditional operator. Let's imagine we want to implement a rule like this. If a customer has more than 100 points, they are a gold customer. Otherwise they are a silver customer. How do we implement this? Well, first I'm going to start by declaring a variable to keep track of a number of the points. So let points, we set there to, let's say 110. Now we want to declare another variable called type that represents the type of customer, and here is where we use the conditional operator. So this is how it works. First we'll start with a condition. We want to compare the number of points with 100. So we use the comparison operator here. As you learned earlier, this expression produces a boolean. So the result of this expression is either true or false, that depending on the result, we're going to set this type variable to a different value. So here we add a question mark. Now if this expression evaluates to true, that means this is a gold customer. So we want to set type to gold. Otherwise, if this expression evaluates to false, we want to set the type to silver. So this is the conditional operator. We start with a condition. If that condition evaluates to true, we will use this value. Otherwise, we'll use this other value. Now let's log type on the console, save the changes. So we have a gold customer. In contrast, if I change the number of points to 90 and save the changes, we'll get a silver customer. Now let's take a look at logical operators. We use these operators to make decisions based on multiple conditions. In JavaScript, we have three types of logical operators: logical AND, logical OR, and NOT. Let's see each of these operators in action. So I'm going to start with the logical AND, which is indicated by two ampersands. So here's the basic rule of thumb. This logical AND returns true if both operands are true. What do I mean by that? Let's do a console log true and true. So we have two operands. They're both true, so the result of evaluating this expression will be true. Let's have a look on the console. Look here, we get true. Now if either of these is false, the result will be false. So I'm going to change this to false, save the changes. note that we get false on the console. It doesn't matter which one is false. If I make the other one false or both of them false, we'll still get false. So logical AND returns true if both operands are true. Now you might be asking, what is the real world use for this operator? Let's imagine we want to build an application for approving loans. So we want to see if the applicant has high income and good credit score. Then they will be eligible for loan. So I'm going to delete all this and declare a couple of variables. High income, we're going to set that to true, and good credit score, we're going to set that to true as well. So here we're dealing with two conditions. We want to make sure that the applicant has high income and good credit score. That's where we use the logical AND, so we can declare another variable eligible for loan. And this is where we use the logical AND operator. So high income and good credit score. Now if we log this on the console, eligible for loan, we should get true. And here's the result. Now let's take a look at the logical OR. So logical OR is indicated by two vertical lines, and this returns true if one of the operands is true. It doesn't matter which one, whether the one on the left or the one on the right or both of them. As long as we have one true operand, the result of this expression will be true. So here's an example. I'm going to replace this logical AND with logical OR. Now in this case, both operands are true. So the result of this expression will also be true. Let's have a look. So I'm going to save the changes, we get true. Now if I change one of these to false, we still get true. It doesn't matter which one is true, as long as we have one operand in this expression that evaluates to true, the result of this expression will also be true. This is how we use the logical OR. Let's take a look at the operator of NOT. This is indicated by an exclamation mark. So let's imagine if the applicant is not eligible for loan, we want to consider their applications as refused. So we can declare another variable, application refused. Here we use the NOT operator. We applied uneligible for loan. So this is what happens here. If eligible for loan is true, this NOT operator will convert that to false. So whatever we give it, it will give us the opposite. In this case, if eligible for loan is true, this will convert that to false and application refused will be false. If you're enjoying the video so far, a subscribe to the channel will be helpful, because if someone is eligible for loan, we don't want to refuse their application, right? So application refused is always the opposite of eligible for loan, and that's where we use the NOT operator. So let's see this in action. I'm gonna change both these conditions to false. So we're dealing with someone who has low income and bad credit score. Obviously they are not eligible for loan. So let's log this on the console. Eligible for loan, and here we can add a label. So I'm going to add a string eligible, and here we add comma. Then we apply the NOT operator to set the application refused variable. Let's do another console.log application refused, and here we log application refused variable. Now let's see what we get on the console. So save the changes. You can see it, this applicant is not eligible because eligibility is false, and application refused is true because it's always the opposite of eligible for loan. When working with complex expressions, one thing that you need to count for is the precedence of operators. Let me show you an example. So let's declare x and set it to 2 plus 3 times 4. What do you think is the result of this expression? Well, let's log this and have a look. So we get 14. The reason for that is because the multiplication operator has higher precedence, so this expression is evaluated first. So 3 times 4 is 12, and then the result is added to 2. Now all these operators you have learned in this section, they have their own precedence. It's really hard to memorize which operators have higher precedence or lower precedence. So when working with complex expressions, you can use parentheses to determine how these operators are applied. For example, here we can put parentheses around 2 plus 3, and this means this expression is evaluated first. So we get 5, and then the result is multiplied by 4. So now if I save the changes, we get 20. Alright guys, this was our complete introduction to operators in JavaScript. If you have liked the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and if you haven't watched the first part